I am not going to do a title card today. I'm pretty bummed. But hey, Newbie Sports delivering the reaction to the BYU versus Texas Tech game. Texas Tech dominating the Cougars at home. And the BYU Cougars gave them things to overcome. I mean, 7 red zone trips and you only got 2 touchdowns out of them. I could be wrong on the number of red zone trips, but that's BYU. The BYU defense did everything they could to keep this game alive. And I just when your offense just can't get going, you're not going to win the game. 29-7 win. 22 points. They were favored by 14. They were favored by 13 and a half at kickoff. But to get 22 points in a top 10 matchup, excellent win for the Texas Tech Raiders, Red Raiders. Super disappointed as a BYU fan. I didn't think BYU was going to win this game, but a few implications that this sets up. This sets up possibly the best opportunity that Big 12 has to get 3 teams into the playoffs. Utah is ranked 13th. And if Texas Tech wins out and goes to Arlington, and BYU goes to Arlington, I don't think that they're going to keep a one-loss team. If BYU wins out and goes to Arlington, I don't think they're going to keep a 2-loss conference champion participant out of the playoffs if they're considering putting Utah in. So this means that the Big 12 is either going to have 1 participant or 3 participants. And that's if BYU, Texas Tech, and Utah go all out and win the rest of the season. Because I think there's going to be some 3-loss SEC teams. The ACC's not doing so well this year. And Penn State almost pulled off that upset against Indiana. So Big Ten territory coming at some possible shaky waters too. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. There is a chance that both conference participants go to the playoffs as well, and not Utah. I think Utah's chances of participating in the conference championship are all but gone now with this BYU loss. I don't think Texas Tech gets 2 losses, and I don't think BYU will lose 2 of the next 3 games. I expected the Cougars to lose this, so anyone saying, nice run, we'll try again next year, now is not the time for that. We're in the Power 4 conference now. 1 loss does not mean the end of the season. If we win out, which we very, very likely will, the ESPN analytics of that game said that we have about a 60% chance of winning out the rest of the season, and that's really good. BYU will go to Arlington, and if we are a 1-loss conference participant, it will be a catastrophe if they keep us out. If they put SMU in last year, they got to put us in this year. Same thing with Texas Tech. If Texas Tech goes to Arlington and then they lose in Arlington, they would be a 1-loss champion. And you cannot take both of these teams out if they win out. They've demonstrated too much. They've overcome too much adversity. And there we go. There we go. I will say, I take great issue with that commentator mentioning the Penn State-Indiana game as often as he did while the plays were still going. I understand that it's a frequent thing when you're commentating a game to go, during dead play, to go back and forth between key games that are happening this weekend, that day, at that time, to inform your audience about what's going on around the league. That's not what this was. This commentator, I can't remember his name, was talking about the Penn State-Indiana game during plays of this game. I take great issue with that. That is very disrespectful to both BYU and Texas Tech. That is dominating this 7th-ranked BYU team. You are here commentating this game. Commentate this game. You are getting paid to commentate this game. Don't say, oh, I think I'm going to commentate both. Ho, 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 ho. I understand you're an SEC guy. I get it. I see you on SEC Shorts every week, and SEC Shorts is a very funny and fantastic YouTube channel. You are doing this job at this time, and it is incredibly disrespectful to be focused on the Indiana-Penn State game when you're supposed to be commentating the end of the Texas Tech BYU game. That's all I have to say about that, but there's my reaction. I was wrong on the point differential, but I was right about the victor. Texas Tech, once again, massive win. Probably the biggest win since you defeated Texas, as they've been saying. So my hat goes off to Texas Tech. Very, very good game. I also want to make sure, once again, the BYU Cougars defense knows I don't think you could have played this much better. I don't think so. There wasn't really that many super massive plays, and with all of the red zone trips they had, the amount of field goals that you had to that you held them to is astonishing. If going into this game you'd have said that BYU would have held Texas Tech to 2 touchdowns, you would have thought that BYU dominated this game, and they did not. Once and then that muff punt at the beginning of the game just completely wrecked things. BYU's defense stepped up and held to a field goal, but that muff punt was bad. That was bad. That was the equivalent of the snap going over Manning's head in the Super Bowl. That was that equivalent. That was the derailing moment for this Cougars team. So, and Parker Kingston, I hope you are feeling better. I saw that he did get a little bit banged up at that last catch attempt that he had. Hope you feel better. We gotta have our hands on the ball. We gotta have eyes up. We gotta not have stuff like that happen. We've been on the positive end of a lot of those moments, and that means to me that we need to be even more aware of those possibilities. I think you should have let that one go, but that's hindsight bias. So I'm not going to harp too much on that anymore. Only thing that I'm going to say is I think this game was decided when Bear threw that pick. I think that game was over after that pick. You saw Bear demonstrate that he is indeed a true freshman this game, and that's not his fault. He's a true freshman. People are gonna make very bad mistakes, and I don't think all of the mistakes are Bear's fault. I think that he demonstrated, he is a true freshman, isn't he? Love you, Bear. I think that there's a Bear loose in Provo call is going to live in BYU lore forever, and the season is not over. I'm talking about it like the season is over. It's not. It was a really, really disappointing loss. Really, really was. And it was disappointing to lose by as much as we did. At least it wasn't a shutout, but man, that was disappointing to lose by as much as we did. Good on the Texas Tech field goal kicker. Good on the offense of Texas Tech for keeping alive, and good on BYU's defense for keeping us breathing as long as you did. Gotta lick our wounds and go on to the next game. And it's not a walk in the park. There's a 40% chance that we don't get to Arlington after this game. That's not an insignificant sum either. So BYU, we could face a Kansas situation where we're doing, or a Penn State this year situation where we come off of a hard loss and then we go on a losing streak. And now that I've mentioned it, Penn State, I'm very sorry that this is the first 6-game losing streak in 21 years, since 2004. So significant things happening in college football all day so far. We're gonna see what else happens. Maybe some other people could shake things up. Utah, being on a bye week is, I think, greatly beneficial to them this week. But once again, I'm not convinced Utah's going to run out. the rest of the season. I think they're going to get their third loss before the end of the season, which would put them out of playoff contention definitively. And I've tried to end this video several times now. I'm just going to... Those are my thoughts. This has been Newbie Sports.